Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel The War Diary. Please subscribe and like my videos because today we are diving deep into one of the most shocking, daring, and technically sophisticated military operations of this war so far. Imagine waking up in Moscow, the heart of Russia, only to realize that nearly 100 drones are flying overhead, each one programmed with precision, each one a signal of how modern warfare is changing forever. This isn't just a single strike, this isn't just a warning, this is a demonstration of what technology, determination, and tactical planning can achieve when used at maximum scale. And today, we're going to break it all down, what happened during this attack, why it matters, and what it tells us about the present and the future of war. When we look from the outside, the sheer exterior of this event is breathtaking. 93 drones launched, coordinated in waves, moving across hundreds of kilometers to penetrate the most heavily defended airspace in Russia. The exterior impression is one of overwhelming force, not in terms of destruction alone, but in terms of numbers, visuals, and psychological shock. Moscow has always been portrayed by the Russian state as untouchable, secured by layers of missile defense systems, radar, and electronic warfare. But the exterior reality on that night told another story. The skies lit up with explosions, anti-air systems firing constantly, and ordinary citizens capturing the chaos on their phones. The exterior view shows us vulnerability on one side and audacity on the other. The number 93 is not random. It's carefully calculated to overwhelm defenses, to test response times, and to create a saturation effect. Just the exterior tells us that this was not symbolic, this was strategic. But if we go inside, if we open the door and explore the interior of this operation, the story becomes even more fascinating and complicated. The interior is about planning, intelligence, coordination, and execution. The Ukrainian forces, knowing full well the risks, invested significant time into mapping radar coverage, identifying weak spots, and preparing drone variants that could fly low, avoid jamming, and hit targets with accuracy. The interior also includes the variety of drones, some carrying explosives, some acting as decoys, some purely meant to drain Russian air defenses. This layered use of technology shows an interior design of warfare that is no longer dependent solely on manned aircraft or missiles, but on swarm tactics, on intelligence gathered through satellites, on the synchronization of ground teams with aerial assets. Inside this attack lies the future blueprint of asymmetric warfare. Smaller nations using innovation to challenge larger, better-funded armies. The interior is also psychological. By striking Moscow itself, Ukraine delivered a message to the Russian population and leadership. The war is no longer distant, it is at your doorstep. The inside of this event is not only about bombs and drones, but about hearts, minds, and the morale of entire nations. The planning interior shows us that this attack was not a spur of the moment decision, but a carefully crafted military message embedded within an aerial swarm. The performance of this operation is where technology meets execution. Out of 93 drones, the majority successfully reached Russian airspace, with several managing to impact critical locations. Russian air defense systems, including Pantsir, S-400, and electronic warfare units, were forced to respond continuously for hours. Videos showed multiple interceptions, but every interception cost Russia resources. Missiles that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, each being fired at drones worth only a few thousand. That trade-off alone demonstrates the performance edge Ukraine achieved. Performance is not only about how many drones reached their targets, but how the entire Russian defense architecture was stressed, exposed, and tested. Ukrainian engineers are proving that mass, speed, and decentralization can outperform static, expensive, centralized defense systems. The performance level of these drones in terms of navigation, endurance, and target acquisition was also remarkable, flying hundreds of kilometers, many at low altitude, and coordinating across different directions. This shows us that Ukrainian drone warfare has matured to a professional, almost industrial scale. Safety features might sound like an odd term in the context of warfare, but in drone strategy it's crucial. Safety in this context means minimizing risk for operators, minimizing collateral damage, and maximizing efficiency. Unlike traditional manned bombers, drones ensure that no pilot's lives are risked. Safety also includes programming that allows drones to self-destruct if jammed, preventing capture and reverse engineering by Russian forces. Additionally, the use of drones in Moscow compared to missiles ensures more precision in avoiding densely populated residential zones. The psychological safety for Ukrainian citizens is also a factor. They see their country striking deep into enemy territory without losing hundreds of soldiers. On the Russian side, safety features were tested in terms of civil defense alarms, evacuation systems, and shelter readiness. The fact that civilians could record drones flying near their homes means those safety nets were not fully reliable. In warfare, safety features can often be the difference between a symbolic strike and a disastrous mistake. Here, safety meant a carefully calibrated balance. Hit military or symbolic targets while avoiding mass civilian casualties that could change international perception. Unique selling points of this attack stand out clearly. The first is scale. 93 drones is unprecedented in this conflict. Second is range. These drones covered immense distances, proving Ukraine's growing reach. Third is cost-effectiveness, forcing Russia to spend millions defending against drones that cost only thousands. Fourth is the psychological impact. Striking Moscow directly undermines the Kremlin's narrative of security. Fifth is the symbolic date and timing. Ukraine often synchronizes such strikes with political or military milestones to amplify their meaning. These unique elements turn the attack into not just a military event, but also a media and psychological one, designed to influence audiences in Ukraine, Russia, and globally. The selling point here is not destruction alone. It is innovation, adaptation, and the ability to redefine what is possible in modern war. If we talk about price, both in literal and metaphorical terms, the analysis becomes even sharper. Each Ukrainian drone may cost anywhere between $5,000 to $50,000, depending on modifications. Russian defense missiles like the S-300 or S-400 cost anywhere from $100,000 to several million dollars per shot. That cost imbalance alone makes the drone swarm highly effective. But price is also measured in damage. Buildings struck, infrastructure disrupted, civilians terrified, and international headlines captured. For Russia, the price is humiliation, the exposure of air defense weaknesses, and the growing fear among its citizens. For Ukraine, the price is the resources invested in producing 93 drones in one strike, resources that might not be unlimited. However, the price paid here seems justified by the enormous impact achieved. In war, cost-benefit calculations are often hidden behind propaganda, but here the imbalance is visible. Millions spent to defend against thousands spent to attack. And in the conclusion, what does all of this mean? The 93rd drone strike on Moscow is not just a single event. It is a marker in the evolution of warfare. It shows that swarm tactics are now central to modern battles, that smaller nations with determination can redefine the battlefield, and that even capitals once considered untouchable are vulnerable in the age of drones. For Ukraine, it demonstrates resilience, innovation, and the ability to fight back strategically. For Russia, it reveals cracks in defense, the psychological cost of war, and the challenge of sustaining confidence among its people. For the world, it is a lesson. The age of traditional warfare is giving way to drone wars, where numbers, cost efficiency, and adaptability outweigh brute force and expensive systems. The conclusion is clear. This was not only an attack, but a message, a test, and perhaps a glimpse into the future where wars are fought not by massive armies, but by intelligent swarms of machines. And as always, we will continue following these developments closely, here on the War Diary. So make sure to like, subscribe, and stay with us, as we uncover the stories shaping our world today.